200,000 seeds. That's what one crabgrass plant drops in your yard in a single summer. Pull every leaf you see today, and you won't have touched one of them. Every one of those seeds can sit in your soil alive and waiting for years. That's why that same bald patch shows up in the same spot in your yard every summer, no matter how many times you pull it. The plant you're yanking out of the ground right now isn't your problem anymore. It already won, back in July, and what you're fighting today is just the corpse. That's the whole game, friend, and almost nobody explains it to you plain like that. You're not fighting a weed. You're fighting a seed bank, and a seed bank doesn't care how many times you mow. I've kept this ground in Lawrence County a long while now, and I've made every mistake in this list myself before I ever got it right. Today I'm going to walk you through how to actually shut that seed bank down, not just for this summer, but for good. Before we go further, 3 things, because most of what gets said about crabgrass online skips right past these. 1. What you think is crabgrass might not be. There are lookalikes that get treated the exact same way, and it makes everything worse, because the wrong treatment does nothing to them at all. 2. Timing beats product every time. The calendar date on your wall means almost nothing. The soil temperature does. I'll give you the actual number to watch for. 3. If you're in southern Tennessee or anywhere like it reading this in late summer, there's a very specific thing you should and should not be doing right now. And wasting money fighting mature plants that frost is about to kill for free is high on the should not list. I'm Jacob, Elder Jacob to some of you, kept ground here my whole life. And before we're through today, I'll show you the one change to how you dig your garden beds that keeps this whole problem from ever crossing the fence line into your vegetables in the first place. More on that when we get there. What most folks call crabgrass is really 2 different plants wearing the same name. Large crabgrass, sometimes called hairy crabgrass, and smooth crabgrass. Both are summer annuals in the same family, and for practical purposes you treat them the same way, but it helps to know what you're looking at. Large crabgrass grows tall if you let it, up near 3 feet, with short hairs covering both sides of every leaf blade and stiff hairs standing up off the stem sheath, often with a purple tint running through the veins. Smooth crabgrass stays low, under 1.5 feet, mostly hairless, and spreads out flat in a rosette instead of standing up. Either one forms that star-shaped, ground-hugging mat you already know on site, and either one will happily survive a mower set as low as 1/2 inch. Here's the part that explains why this weed beats your grass every single summer, no matter what you do. Your turf, if it's a cool season grass like fescue or bluegrass, runs on what botanists call the C3 photosynthetic pathway. Once the air gets past about 80 degrees, that pathway slows down and your grass eases into something close to a stall, conserving itself through the heat. Crabgrass runs on a different pathway entirely, called C4, and it doesn't stall at 80 degrees. It thrives between 80 and 100. Every hot week of summer that has your lawn resting is crabgrass's best week of the year. It isn't winning by accident. It's built for the exact weather that beats your grass down. And because it roots along its stems wherever they touch damp soil, and tillers out in every direction from its crown, one plant can spread into a dense mat before you've noticed there's a problem at all. Left alone, it grows all summer, sets seed from midsummer into fall, and dies flat at the first hard frost, leaving a bare brown patch right where it stood. That bare patch doesn't stay empty. Winter weeds move in fast, and the whole cycle starts over come spring. Here's where a lot of well-meaning yard work goes to waste, because 3 other grassy weeds get mistaken for crabgrass constantly, and treating them the same way does nothing. Quackgrass is a perennial, not an annual, and it spreads by tough underground rhizomes, not by seed alone. That single fact matters more than anything else about it, because a pre-emergent herbicide works by stopping a seed from ever sprouting. Quackgrass doesn't need to sprout from seed to spread. It just runs sideways underground. No pre-emergent product touches it. If quackgrass has a foothold in your yard, the only real fix is spot killing it with a non-selective herbicide and reseeding that patch from scratch. You can tell it apart because it stands upright, taller than the turf around it, blue-green to gray-green, with a long clasping structure called an auricle wrapped around the stem where crabgrass has none at all. Dallisgrass is also a perennial, growing in coarse, clumping mounds instead of a flat mat, spreading through short, thick rhizomes of its own. Same story as quackgrass. Pre-emergent timing does not apply to it. It has to be dug out or spot-treated directly. Goosegrass looks the closest to true crabgrass, low and flattened in a wagon wheel rosette, but you can tell them apart at the crown. Goosegrass has a distinctive silvery white or flattened center where the blades all meet, almost like a zipper, and it tolerates compacted soil even better than crabgrass does. It is an annual too, so the same pre-emergent timing that works on crabgrass works on goosegrass as well. Here's the honest note, friend. If you've been treating a stand of quackgrass or dallisgrass with a crabgrass preventer year after year and wondering why it never works, this is why. Wrong diagnosis, wrong tool. Look at the root before you spend another $1 on the wrong bag. Now here's the piece that separates the folks who actually beat this weed from the folks fighting it forever. And it isn't which bag you buy, it's when you put it down. Crabgrass seed will not wake up until soil temperature, measured about 2 inches down, holds at 55 degrees for 3 to 5 days running. Not air temperature. Soil temperature at that specific depth. That number is the whole ball game. A pre-emergent herbicide works by forming a thin chemical barrier sitting right in that top layer of soil. When a crabgrass seed tries to send a root down through that barrier, the barrier stops the root cells from dividing and the seedling dies before it ever breaks the surface. But that barrier has to already be down and settled before the seed wakes up, or you've missed your window entirely. Put it down too late, after soil hits 60 degrees, and the earliest seeds have already slipped past you. So, the target window is soil temperature between 50 and 55 degrees, trending upward. Cold soil is forgiving. The product breaks down slowly in cold ground because the microbes that break it down are barely active yet, so going down a little early costs you nothing. Going down late costs you the whole season. If you don't want to stick a thermometer in your yard every morning, nature gives you a few honest clues. Forsythia blooming yellow is your first signal, but treat it only as a get ready, not a go, since Forsythia actually blooms well before the soil hits that 55-degree mark. Watch instead for lilacs starting to bloom, or dogwood and redbud in full flower. Those track much closer to the real soil trigger. And if you want to be precise about it, university extension offices publish growing degree day trackers online, free, where you punch in your zip code and it tells you straight out whether your soil is under, right on time, or already past the window for crabgrass prevention that year. Here's the move that actually wins the whole season, not just the spring flush. Most folks put down one bag in spring and call it done. But crabgrass keeps germinating in waves clear through June and July, and a single application can wear thin before summer's over. Put your first application down when soil sits between 50 and 55 degrees, using a product built to last, the kind with a long half-life that resists washing out in spring rain. Then come back 6 to 8 weeks later, once soil's climbed into the low 60s, with a second product, one that can also knock back any young crabgrass that already slipped through the first barrier while it's still small. That second pass carries you all the way into late summer. One thing that trips people up every year: that barrier has to be watered into the soil, 1/4 to 1/2 inch of water, within a day or 3 of putting it down, or it just sits on top of the thatch and breaks down in the sun without ever doing its job. And once it's down, don't aerate, dethatch, or heavily rake that section of lawn. You'll tear the barrier open and hand crabgrass seed a clean shot at daylight right where you just paid to stop it. If you'd rather not run a chemical barrier at all, there's an old, well-documented option that works with the soil instead of against it, and it fits the way I garden anyway. Corn gluten meal, the same byproduct left over from milling corn into syrup, carries natural compounds that stop a germinating seed's root from growing longer, the same way a chemical pre-emergent does, just through a different mechanism. Put down at a rate of about 20 pounds per 1,000 square feet, right around the time Forsythia blooms, watered in lightly. Here's the part that trips people up and makes them think it failed. It hasn't failed, it's the weather. Corn gluten meal only works if the soil goes through a 2 to 3 day dry spell right after the weed germinates. Without roots yet, that tiny seedling can't reach water on its own, and it dries out and dies. But if it rains through that window, the seedling gets just enough moisture to grow real roots anyway, and the corn gluten meal never gets its chance. I'll be straight with you on results too, because that's how I do things. Corn gluten meal alone typically gets you 50 to 60% control your first year. That's not nothing, but it's not the clean sweep a chemical barrier gives you either. Stick with it 2 or 3 years running though, and control climbs up past 80, even 90%, because you're feeding your turf a real dose of slow-release nitrogen every time you put it down, which thickens your grass and helps it choke crabgrass out on its own. It's a patience play, not a quick fix, but it's honest, and it feeds your lawn instead of just poisoning the weed. For a small patch here and there, not a whole yard, there's an old kitchen cabinet trick that actually holds up. Mix 3 ounces of molasses and 3 ounces of shampoo into 16 ounces of water in a hand sprayer. That shampoo isn't the point. It just makes the mix sticky enough to cling to a crabgrass blade instead of beating off. Spray the plant down good, then dust plain baking soda over the wet leaves through an old sock or a bit of nylon so it settles in a fine, even layer. Within about 3 days, the crabgrass turns black and dies right where it stands, no digging required. The honest note on this one, friend, it's a spot treatment for a patch here and there, not a whole lawn strategy, and it won't touch the seed bank sitting underneath it. Use it for the one ugly clump in the corner, not the whole yard. Here's the truth nobody selling you a bag of weed killer wants to lead with. The single best thing you can do against crabgrass costs nothing and comes from how you mow and water, not what you spray. Set your mower high, 3 to 3.5 inches for a cool season lawn through spring and summer, and never take off more than 1/3 of the blade length in one cutting. Taller grass shades the soil surface, and crabgrass seed needs both sunlight and warm soil to wake up. A thick, tall canopy denies it both at once. Scalp your lawn short instead, and you're opening a sunny, warm invitation right into the dirt. Watering matters just as much, and most folks do it backward. A quick daily sprinkle keeps the top half-inch of soil damp all the time, which is exactly the shallow, moist environment a crabgrass seed wants to sprout in. Water deep and infrequent instead, 1 inch to 1.5 inches a week in 1 or 2 long soakings done in the early morning. That lets the top couple inches of soil dry out hard between waterings, which stresses out any shallow-rooted crabgrass seedling while your turf's own deeper roots stay just fine. And come early fall, not spring, run a core aerator over any compacted ground. Crabgrass tolerates compacted, oxygen-starved soil far better than your good turf does, so relieving that compaction lets your grass outroot and outcompete it. Aerating in spring instead does the opposite of what you want. It tears open the pre-emergent barrier you just paid to lay down and drags buried crabgrass seed right up into the light. Sometimes the pre-emergent window comes and goes and crabgrass gets a foothold anyway. There's a post-emergent option for that, and one thing about it that trips a lot of people up: quinclorac is the standard active ingredient for killing crabgrass that's already up and growing in most cool season lawns. Here's the strange part, and it's worth knowing before you waste a bottle of it. Quinclorac works well on very young crabgrass, 1 or 2 leaves, and it works well on old, mature crabgrass past 4 tillers. But right in the middle, somewhere around 2 to 4 tillers, the plant develops a short window of natural tolerance to it. Spray it during that window, and the leaf tips might brown a little, but the plant shrugs it off and keeps growing. Farmers who've run into this call it the gorilla stage, for how stubborn it gets. Catch it early, before that window, or wait until it's fully mature. But don't waste a spray in the middle of it. The honest note here matters more than almost anything else in this whole video. Not every lawn tolerates the same herbicide. Quinclorac will badly injure centipede grass and street Augustine grass. If you're growing either of those, you need a different active ingredient entirely, and this is exactly the kind of thing your local extension office can tell you for free based on your specific grass and your specific county. I'm not your extension agent, friend, and every label is different. Read yours before you spray anything. If you're watching this in August or later, here's the plain truth, and it'll save you money. That mature crabgrass filling in your yard right now is going to die on its own the moment the first hard frost hits. Spending real money fighting a fully grown plant that's already living on borrowed time is a poor trade. Save the herbicide budget. What actually matters right now is what happens after that frost kills it. Every crabgrass plant standing in your yard today already dropped its seed weeks ago. When it dies back, it's going to leave a bare open patch of soil right where it stood, and that bare soil is an open door, both for next year's crabgrass and for winter weeds moving in over the next few months. So here's your real job this time of year. Mark where those bare patches are going to open up. Come early fall, once nights cool off and your cool season grass is actively growing again, get in there with a core aerator to relieve any compaction, and overseed those bare and thin spots heavy with good turfgrass seed. A dense stand of grass going into next spring is the best pre-emergent you'll ever put down, because crabgrass simply cannot get a foothold in ground it can't reach the sun through. Here's something I learned the hard way in my own yard, and it's the piece that ties this whole video back to how I garden. Every time crabgrass got into my vegetable rows, it wasn't coming up through the middle of a healthy bed. It was creeping in along the edge, right where the lawn met bare-dug soil at ground level, that thin strip where grass roots stop and garden soil starts, warm, a little compacted, and exposed all season long. Once I moved to raised framed beds instead of digging rows straight into the yard, that edge disappeared. There's no gradual bare grass-to-garden transition zone for crabgrass to creep along anymore, just a hard wooden frame and contained soil above it. It didn't end crabgrass in my lawn. Nothing fully does. But it closed off the one path it had into where I actually grow my food, and it saved my back from all that edging and trenching along the border every summer besides. That exact raised framed build is one of the ones in my book, The No Bend, No Kneel Garden, the complete Amish raised bed guide, built off the same methods plain community growers have used for generations. There's a barcode on your screen right now. Scan it, and it'll take you straight to the book. Discover the Amish secret to growing more, without wrecking your back, your knees, or handing crabgrass a clean path into your garden. So here's the whole of it, friend. Not the $12 bag version. Know what you're actually looking at before you treat it, because a lookalike wastes every dollar you spend. Watch soil temperature, not the calendar, and put a barrier down before crabgrass wakes up, not after. Mow high, water deep and rare, and aerate in fall, because a thick lawn beats a weed before it ever needs a bottle. And whatever gets away from you this year, don't waste money fighting it once frost is already coming for it. Spend that money and that effort on closing the bare ground it'll leave behind instead. None of this is complicated, friend. It's just patient, and it works with how the ground actually behaves instead of against it. Here's the small ask. Same as always. Not the whole list, just one piece of it. If you don't already know your soil temperature, go find out this week, either with a probe thermometer or your local extensions tracker online, and mark your calendar for when it crosses 50 degrees next spring. That single habit will do more for your lawn than any bag you could buy. Tell me down in the comments, is it crabgrass you're fighting, or do you think it might actually be one of the lookalikes I described? What's the one patch in your yard that comes back every single year no matter what you do? Keep the old ways, friend. They kept us.